As we look at adding modules to the game, you'll notice that we're not really interested in how we change our strategy because all of our decision making is giving us the best possible chance of winning. We're just interested in how do I change what I'm rolling for within that strategy based on what comes up with the modules. So we'll take care of the easy ones first here. The Dragonling die, re-roll it with sets until it's not chaos, and you'll be better off. And if it works, great. If not, don't worry, we're already winning. The inspiration powers, these all help you. They make life easier for you. Use them, it'll be easier. The shields are the module that you would think would have the most impact on how we play because the strategy we're using frequently results in insufficient sets, which means that enemy is going to put up a shield and now can't be hit with sets. In fact, a set would move them down, but rather must be hit with singles. But it turns out shields are actually the most advantageous module. In fact, if you put me in a situation and said, you've got to win, what module do you want to add? I'd add shields. Because what shields really do, let's say you had 3 insufficient sets, is they give you safe places to put your singles. Now it does impact your statement, the statement being what you're telling yourself while you're rolling, but probability-wise, you're in a much better spot. We need a single on 2, 4, or 6 in this scenario if those 3 enemies have their shield up. And when we say singles on 2, 4, or 6 now, we don't mean that won't give us a wound. We mean 2, 4, and 6 must be singles. That means we're always going to be re-rolling those sets because we've got to get them off of the single, regardless of whether other sets are large or not. We might add to that, so singles on 2, 4, 6, maybe, in this case, 1, 3, 5. Because 1, 3, and 5 could take a hit, it wouldn't give us a wound. And those 2 directives are now how we're going to roll. So we'd say singles on 2, 4, 6, maybe 1, 3, 5. I'll show you what this would look like with these shields. Singles on 2, 4, 6, maybe 1, 3, 5. When I see sets, a situation like this is no longer a good roll. I re-roll the largest that has to have a single. Singles on 2, 4, 6, maybe 1, 3, 5. So singles on 2, 4, 6, maybe 1, 3, 5. 2, 4, 6. Singles on 2, 4, 6. Now we're in a situation where we can stop. I have singles on the numbers that are 2, 4, and 6. That is, I have a single on 6. And I could take a single on 1, 3, 5 and still be okay. So you'd quit. You'd resolve the round. We have an insufficient set on 1. We're going to get a hit on 3. We have an insufficient set on 5. And we're going to pop a shield off on 6. Now the places where we had insufficient sets now put up their shields. We pull a die off the exhaustion track. And you would now change your statement to say singles on 1, 2, 4, 5, maybe 3. Singles on 1, 2, 4, 5, maybe 3. Singles on 1, 2, 4, 5, maybe 3. So there's my 1, 2, 4, 5, maybe 3. So I'm going to re-roll the singles on 1 for sure. Singles on 1, 2, 4, 5. Singles on 1, 2, 4, 5, maybe 3. So we're in a situation now where I have singles on 1, 2, 4, 5, or none of those numbers. I could take a single on 3, which wouldn't cost me a wound, but I can stop. And what's going to happen is you get this balance where you're popping shields off of some enemies, putting hits on other enemies, and then forcing up shields on these enemies. And the shields will continue to flux, usually between 2 and 4 shields. You'll always have a safe place to put your 1s. You'll have sets that you absolutely have to re-roll, and it'll help you even get larger sets on the numbers where you don't have a shield to avoid. So how should the Chariot module be played? By and large, Chariot comes up, you put a number on it, you have 1 less die, so you don't get to work with 11 dice all the time. There's a couple ways you can use it to your advantage if you really feel like you're strapped. There are some of these cards that deal with the exhaustion track, putting dice on the exhaustion track or moving them up. If you don't have dice on the exhaustion track, you're going to have to pull a second Chariot card, which is going to take that die out of play anyway. So usually when I see things involving the exhaustion track, I use those as wild cards. I leave them. I do not attempt to fill those as I'm rolling, but I kind of keep an eye on them because if you ever roll a situation where it might be to your advantage, say you have 1-5 left, or in this case 1-4, you could, I want to avoid that single 4, I'll put the 4 over here. But you don't fill them immediately, nor do you have a mandate to fill them because they're not going to cost you a wound. And that's your bottom line, is if it's not giving you a wound, let it go. Most of the other chariot cards involve moving down an enemy marker. That's things that give you a wound. You need to put a die on that, and the question becomes when. For the singles, I do it immediately. I will, as soon as I get a 3, I pop a 3 on there because you cannot afford to get a bunch of sets but not have covered the 3 and then have to pull your sets apart and then have lost all that time rolling to get into a good situation, which didn't end up being good because you didn't take care of the 3. The pairs here are a different matter. You will almost always, at the end of rolling dice, have a pair which you can pull off and put there. It's safe if it's down here. It just might be an insufficient set, but it will stop the battle marker from being moved down on those enemies. And you need more dice rolling to get yourself into a good situation. So when you see the pairs, you want to keep rolling until you've achieved success, and then don't forget to pull one of your pairs out to take care of that situation. And if you have a couple seconds, take a look at which of your pairs is going to be an insufficient set anyway. The Conspirators is going to be similar in that it doesn't force you to change your rolling strategy, but it changes the criteria. Most of these, there's nothing to do about, they just happen. But for every single, move that enemy's battle marker down 1 extra space, and one set of your choice becomes a single this round. Those affect whether or not you're going to take a wound based on how you roll. So when you look at where are safe singles now, you need to factor in the extra space. So in this case, my safe single, my only safe single, is going to be 3 because moving down an extra space for a single is going to cost me a wound anywhere else. One set of your choice becomes a single this round also affects your ability to get a, quote, safe single because you're going to have to turn a set into a single as well. I'm unclear as to how that works with the shields, if you can put something on a shield, make it a single, and then use it to pop the shield, but I've always just played the more difficult version because the simpler versions of this game are fairly easy to beat. The last one is the one that's going to give you the most trouble. I would note that any single module using this roll strategy, you're going to win. No trouble there. When you start to add modules together, for example, if you have the Sun and Moon together with the Conspirators and the Chariots, you're going to have a very difficult time beating that. You might want to throw in some Inspirational Powers or a Dragonling die. But that's good. You don't want a game that you can beat in every situation. When you go to work the Sun and the Moon, you have a third decision point now. In addition to where do I stop and what do I re-roll, you need to decide where I face the Sun and the Moon. And the first distinguish we make is we don't care about the Sun. It's secondary. The Moon is what matters. That's what's going to move an enemy down. So I'm going to face the Moon towards an enemy where if I put a single there and I fail to get a hit on the Moon enemy and it goes down, I won't result in a wound. So choose the enemy that gives you the most safe singles. In this case, if you had faced the Moon this direction, this is no longer a safe single because you failed to get a set on the Moon enemy and it's going to go down twice. So you'd want to always do it in a way that gives you the most safe singles. And there's not a whole lot you can do past that. Other strategy choices are going to be pretty straightforward. If you do get one of these dice, choose the one that's going to be most likely to get you a hit on somebody or keep you from getting a wound. So that's how we'd run this with these modules. I'd recommend starting with a training game and working your way up. I think the game has the desired effect of once you've mastered one level, you can move on to another. And I would love to see somebody do a live playthrough with these 3 modules and win. That's a pretty challenging one. Good luck, and thanks for watching.